would that not be a campaign contribution?
It's interesting. Personally, I have not looked into it as much as I've been covering sort of the ongoing Cohen investigation in recent months. But I'm sure that Special Counsel Mueller has at least taken some level of interest into some of these things. I mean, we know that he had dug into Tony Podesta, who's the brother of John Podesta, who was leading the Clinton campaign at the time. So he's clearly taken some level of interest in a lot of these players who have, circled around this whole entire investigation.
It came out that the president's longtime CFO in the Trump organization, Alan Weisselberg, is getting an immunity deal. But apparently, we are told that the Trump campaign or the administration has known about that for quite some time, and his testimony was given quite a while ago. Michael Caputo, who is a former Trump advisor, says he's not particularly worried about what Weisselberg might have to say. Listen to this.
I don't think just because they have immunity, we can expect that they're going to, that they're rolling on the president and creating some kind of a wave of charges against him. I'm willing to sit back and wait. I'm not getting too excited about those immunities.
So everybody, a lot of other people are getting excited about immunity deals, because if you get one, it suggests that you have a great deal to tell, does it not?
It does. Now, I will say with the Weisselberg immunity, we found out about this now after the Cohen plea deal, but, it was pretty clear in the reporting that's come out that this was immunity that was given beforehand, that he was providing testimony related to the payments specifically and related to the Cohen investigation. So his witness testimony would have been related to the deal and the charges that prosecutors were able to make related to Cohen. They said they had witness testimony that backed up Cohen's admissions that he was directed to make the payments and that he knew that they were not proper. And some of that witness testimony would have likely come from Weisselberg and someone like American Media Inc. CEO David Pecker, who also received an immunity deal.
We will see where it all goes from here. Alan Smith from Business Insider, the senior political reporter there. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, John.
Former presidential candidate Mitt Romney expressing admiration today for his one-time political rival, John McCain, after Senator McCain's family announced he is no longer seeking medical treatment for an aggressive form of brain cancer. Romney releasing a statement saying, quote, "It's not that he is universally loved. Heaven knows how he has been attacked by members of his own political party, including by his president. Rather, it is a matter of his character. In a sea of politicians blown about by polls and passions, he is as immovable as an anchor held fast by rock." For more on Senator McCain, let's go to Alicia Acuna in Phoenix. Alicia.
Hi, John. Yeah, and the love and support from both rivals and friends has been pouring in since news broke yesterday that the senator is discontinuing the treatment for cancer. It really just speaks to the impact that he has had on this country. But right now, it is about John McCain, the father and the husband, who is with those that he loves at their family ranch in northern Arizona. Upon news that he is ending that cancer treatment, Arizona Governor Doug Ducey said in a statement, quote, "John McCain is an American hero, always putting country before self. From Vietnam to the halls of the U.S. Senate, the spirit of service and civility that has guided Senator McCain's life stands as a model for all Americans, regardless of political affiliation." McCain has represented the state of Arizona and Washington since 1982, first as a two-term congressman, then as six-term senator. Those who have known him here say while he worked for them, he belonged to the world.
Institution is a big word. He's earned it. Politicians are generally people that are inauthentic and are striking a pose for the moment in order to capture the right electorate, and the John McCain we know in Arizona has never done that.
Two of McCain's closest friends have expressed their thoughts as well. Former Senator Joe Lieberman, Senator Lindsey Graham, and McCain made up what was known informally on the Hill as the Three Amigos. Lieberman writing, "Becoming John McCain's friend has been one of the greatest blessings of my life. Today I am praying for him and his family." Graham in a statement writing, "Above all else, I know John wants his family, friends, and staff to understand how much he appreciates their love, care, and kindness." And John, I also spoke with former Arizona Senator Jon Kyl briefly on the phone just before coming here to talk to you. He reminded me that they were colleagues for 18 years in the Senate. He said they did a lot together. They accomplished quite a bit. And he said there's really not much silver in this cloud. But if there is, it's that Senator McCain right now is at his favorite place on earth, that ranch in northern Arizona, with his family. John.
Alicia Acuna. Alicia, thanks. The former hurricane, now tropical storm Lane, dumping nearly 3 feet of rain on Hawaii's Big Island, causing flash floods and mudslides and forcing widespread evacuations. Steve Harrigan is live in Honolulu for us. Steve, what's the latest?
John, as a danger from wind, this hurricane has largely fallen apart. There's no longer a hurricane, no more tropical storm warnings either across the state of Hawaii. We just heard the mayor of Honolulu a short time ago saying the state has dodged the bullet. But still, as a rain event, there is still danger ahead. We have seen more than 45 inches of rain on parts of the state, including the Big Island. There's been some flooding there of highways, some people rescued from their homes as well. And FEMA administrators have warned that the state is not out of the woods yet.
Anytime a hurricane or a tropical storm is moving less than 10 miles an hour, obviously it has a high propensity to dump torrential rains, and that's what we're worried about right now.
It looked like here in Honolulu we could be facing a direct hit. Instead, that storm veered quickly to the left, and people here were told to prepare 2 weeks of food and water. But as you can see, the relaxed atmosphere and a full beach behind me, the danger here has passed, John.
But there are reports of fires in Maui sparked by high winds?
That's right. It seems an unusual situation during a hurricane to have fires, brush fires, on the island of Maui. 3,000 acres. Hundreds of people had to be evacuated, at least 7 homes destroyed, no reported casualties. Apparently one of the fires caused by a downed power line, a very difficult situation for firefighters battling those flames during hurricane conditions, and the unusual situation where you had people taking refuge from the hurricane in a shelter had to be moved to another shelter because of the wildfire. So some tough days for people in Maui, John.
Scary times there. Steve Harrigan. Steve, thanks. A fiery collision between a dump truck and a passenger train killed 2 people in the truck and injured several on the train, 2 of them critically. 11 people hospitalized after the accident in Fort Worth, Texas today. The collision blew out windows on the train and smashed the front of its locomotive. Witnesses say it took the train about half a mile to come to a stop. The cause of the crash is under investigation. Pope Francis arriving in Ireland for the first papal visit in nearly 40 years. On the heels of another sex abuse scandal in the Catholic Church. What the Pope is promising he'll do to change the culture. Plus, President Trump calling off Secretary of State Pompeo's trip to North Korea, saying Kim Jong-un hasn't done enough to shut down his nuclear program.
We have long said that none of this, in terms of working toward denuclearization, would be particularly fast. We go into this eyes wide open. But this is all going to take some time.
I left Singapore. You've had no missile shot. You've had no rocket shot. You have no nuclear testing, and we got back our hostages. And I have a good relationship with them. You know, we have a good chemistry together.
Nuclear disarmament talks with North Korea at a standstill now after President Trump canceled Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's planned trip there next week, saying the North has not made enough progress on ending its nuclear program. For more, let's bring in Jillian Turner. Jillian.
Hi, John. Things kept changing this week when it came to President Trump's foreign policy. First, he flip-flopped on North Korea. The Secretary of State was slated to head to Pyongyang this morning for what was to be his 4th trip to the Hermit Kingdom to move nuclear negotiations forward with Kim Jong-un. But President Trump abruptly canceled the trip yesterday, shortly after meeting with his national security team, and he announced his reversal to the world on Twitter. Just a day earlier, though, on Thursday, Secretary Pompeo had said this.
Using diplomacy to resolve the North Korean security threat once and for all remains one of President Trump's greatest priorities.
Pompeo had also announced the appointment of a new envoy for the nuclear talks. The president's rationale for the last-minute cancellation? The North hasn't made sufficient progress toward ending its nuclear program, he wrote on Twitter. This in direct contradiction to his own declaration on June 13th, just a couple of months ago, that North Korea no longer poses a threat to the United States, John.
President Trump also brought China into the mix with his tweets yesterday. It sounded like he was pretty frustrated.
It did. He lashed out at China's government, tweeting, quote, "I do not believe they are helping with the process of denuclearization as they once were." But again, this is a curious statement coming only a day after he told Fox News the exact opposite. It seems policy reversals have become something of a signature for the president when it comes to American policies toward East Asia. President Trump scheduled, then canceled, then rescheduled his first summit with Kim within a period of just days. John?
Jillian Turner in Washington, thank you. The U.S. is cutting more than $200 million in aid to the Palestinians due to a deteriorating relationship with the Palestinian leadership. The State Department cites the Islamist militant group Hamas control of Gaza as part of its reason for reallocating those funds. The U.S. and Israel both designate Hamas as a terrorist group. A senior State Department official says the money, originally designated for programs in the West Bank and Gaza, will now go to high-priority projects elsewhere. Pope Francis responding to a global outcry over the abuse scandal in the Catholic Church he heads, arriving in Ireland for the first papal visit there in almost 40 years. The Pope vowed to rid the church of the scourge of sexual abuse, no matter the cost. But some abuse survivors say condemnation is no longer enough.
This was the moment when he could acknowledge that cover-up and the Vatican City-State's responsibility for it. And he fluffed it. Yet again, he completely refused to acknowledge the role of the Vatican and its responsibility.
Kitty Logan is in London with more on the Pope's visit.
Hi, John. Well, this is a difficult time for the Catholic Church, and the Pope was aware of particular sensitivities in Ireland where many of those historical abuses have occurred. But the Pontiff was mostly given a very warm welcome. He was first invited to meet dignitaries at Dublin Castle, and there, some strong words from the Irish Prime Minister, Leo Varadkar.
People kept in dark corners, behind closed doors. Cries for help that went unheard. And these wounds are still open, and there is much to be done to bring about justice and truth and healing for the victims and survivors.
While acknowledging the abuses, Pope Francis stopped short of a full apology.
With regard to the most vulnerable, I cannot fail to acknowledge the grave scandal caused in Ireland by the abuse of young people by members of the Church charged with responsibility for their protection and education.
The Pope also offered a prayer to victims. Some were disappointed the Pontiff didn't offer them more reassurance. 8 survivors were later invited to a private meeting with him to air their grievances. In the evening, the Pope attended a concert in his honour. Ireland is traditionally a Catholic country, but in recent years many younger people have turned away from church guidance, voting for gay marriage and changes in abortion law. So far, fewer people have welcomed the Pope than on previous papal visits to Ireland, and there have been some small protests. But around 500,000 people are due to attend a special papal mass in Dublin on Sunday, showing there still is a great deal of support for the church in Ireland. John?
Kitty Logan reporting from London. Thanks. Well, President Trump casting doubt on Democrats' hopes for a blue wave in the midterms. Some new polls showing which party could catch a wave come November. Plus, NFL broadcasting partners announce a new policy regarding the national anthem, and President Trump is not a fan.
We're not going to let it happen because we need our law enforcement. We need respect for our national anthem and for our flag. So I don't think there's going to be a blue wave. I hope there's a red wave. They keep saying that whoever's president, they don't win the midterms. I just don't get it. But no president has ever had this economy.
President Trump in Ohio yesterday touting a surging economy that he says will help Republicans hold the House in November. But a new Fox News poll tells a different story. The generic congressional ballot shows Democrats leading by double digits. Doug Luzader with more on that.
What are the prospects for a red wave in Congress come November? That is certainly President Trump's hope for the midterm elections. Here is his bold prediction from the Ohio Republican State Party dinner last night.
We have the strongest economy in the history of our nation. And I hear about a blue wave. I say, why is there a blue wave? We are doing better now with jobs. Today, there are more people working than at any time ever in the history of our country. So I don't think there's going to be a blue wave. I hope there's a red wave.
That would run counter to conventional wisdom, which says that the party that controls the White House loses seats in midterm elections. And Democrats would have to flip 23 seats, but they are within striking distance of doing that, and there may be an enthusiasm gap. Our recent Fox News poll shows that voters who backed Hillary Clinton are more likely than Trump voters to be extremely interested in the 2018 races.
We're calling the Democrats soft favorites, which means that if you have a blue wave, we don't think at the current time it's going to be one of these tsunamis that wins you 40, 50, 60 seats. It looks to us, with Democrats needing 23, more like they're just over that number right now. Maybe it'll grow before November, or maybe it'll pop back. But right now they're soft favorites to take over the House by some modest margin.
The Senate is another matter. Even though the GOP margin of control is much narrower there, Democrats have more seats to defend this year, some in states that President Trump carried. So it seems more likely that Republicans would retain the majority. John.
Doug Luzader. Doug, thanks. Well, the Democrat Party revamping its presidential nominating process. Members approving key changes at the DNC summer meeting in Chicago, diminishing the role of superdelegates, preventing them from voting on the first ballot at the convention. DNC Chair Tom Perez saying in a statement, quote, "Today is a historic day for our party. We passed major reforms that will not only put our next presidential nominee in the strongest position possible, but will help us elect Democrats up and down the ballot across the country. These reforms will help grow our party, unite Democrats, and restore voters' trust by making our 2020 nominating process the most inclusive and transparent in our history." Rising employment putting new pressure on the White House and Congress to reduce the number of Americans on food stamps. William LaJeunesse has more.
We've created almost 4 million new jobs since the election.
With entire industries begging for workers.
Right now, all of agriculture is facing a labor shortage.
The Trump administration wants Americans on welfare back on the job.
Statistics show more jobs available than we have people to fill them.
Which is why critics accuse the administration of hypocrisy. While the president says he wants able-bodied adults to work for food stamps, that's not what the Department of Agriculture is doing. Waiving work requirements in 33 states.
This program has been on autopilot for years, and it needs to stop. And that's why you need to see the president and the secretary step in, put on the brakes.
Today we are ending welfare as we know it.
President Clinton made welfare workfare in 1996. But when unemployment hit 12% in 2009, President Obama approved a nationwide waiver and a loophole, allowing states to keep food stamps for adults, even though now the recession is over. Unemployment, the blue line, is at a record low. Food stamp enrollment remains, however, stubbornly high.
Saying that they can't or shouldn't have fresh food or good food is wrong.
California has 500,000 job openings and more than 800,000 food stamp recipients eligible to fill them. Yet last month, the state renewed its waiver.
I've inquired several times of how we could deny these waivers, but we are statutorily precluded from denying the waivers if they fit the criteria.
And that's what the Farm Bill stalemate is all about. The House bill gives the USDA veto authority over state waivers. The Senate bill does not. While Senate Democrats say they will not approve any bill requiring recipients to work, negotiations with the House continue. In Los Angeles, William LaJeunesse, Fox News.
More than 10 U.S. airports are now using biometric facial recognition scans. At Dulles International Airport, Customs and Border Protection agents say the technology helped them catch a man posing as a French citizen because his facial features did not match the man in the passport he presented. With more on this brand new technology, here's Claudia Cowan.
Whether it's going through customs or boarding some international flights, your face is your boarding pass and ID. In a pilot program at LAX, cameras use biometric facial recognition to match passengers' unique features to government pictures already on file, from passports or visas.
The algorithms are so sophisticated that they're able to determine matches over 99% of the time in our testing.
Most passengers were impressed.
It's quick.
I just was afraid maybe it wouldn't recognize me, but it did, so I'm going to London.
As far as getting through, I like it.
So far, it seems these e-gates do make it easier for people to board and get to their seats and settle in for their long international flight. But some critics argue people may be sacrificing privacy for convenience.
My concerns are that this technology will be used beyond its current scope. I worry that facial recognition will migrate from airports all across federal law enforcement, putting the privacy of law-abiding Americans at risk.
Customs and Border Protection maintains the software is safe and secure, and along with facial scans of those who enter the U.S. at Customs, will generate a biometric record of exit, a border security measure mandated by Congress in 2004. Passengers who feel those e-gates might be too much like Big Brother can opt out and board the traditional way. But Customs and Border Protection says biometric boarding is the future and hope to have the technology installed at airports around the country within 4 years. In San Jose, Claudia Cowan, Fox News.
From mass shooting survivor to police officer, Lauren Card sworn in as the newest member of the Springfield Police Department in Oregon. She says her decision to join the police force came from her experience dodging bullets in the mass shooting at a country music concert in Las Vegas last October. Card recalls her relief at the sight of police officers running toward the chaos. Now she says she wants to help other people who may be in danger. President Trump says U.S. relations with Mexico are getting better by the hour. Could a trade deal be on the horizon? Plus, Tesla founder Elon Musk makes a stunning turnaround 2 weeks after blindsiding investors. What he's doing now. And here's Jesse with a preview of tonight's Watters World.
Big show tonight. Ann Coulter, Mark Levin, Dinesh D'Souza, and of course Diamond and